Hi, this is Rob Polenick of Brutal Iron Gym. In today's video, I want to discuss things that I think of when doing dumbbell overhead press. So I have the bench set up here. I'll actually play around with different angles. I'll start sometimes at a 45-degree angle. I know that's arguably an inclined chest press, but you're going to get a lot of shoulders in there as well. I'll then play with angles above that. So typical commercial benches, they go by 15 degrees. So you would have 60 degrees, 45, then 60, then 75, then 90. I have a bench here from Rep Fitness. I think it's called the Blackwing bench, and it has different increments. There's, I think, 60, then like 67.5, then 75, and then an 85. So the exact angles you have available to you might be a little bit different, but I like playing with a variety of different positions, as that helps to target just different areas of the shoulder. The other thing I'll do is I'll play around with levels of pre-exhaust. So today I did variations of cable lateral raises before I would do my dumbbell presses. And the reason why I like doing that on some days is it pre-exhausts the shoulders. So when I do an overhead press, the shoulder muscles are more likely to be the muscle that fails first. So I have short upper arm bones, and what that usually means is in my pressing movements, whether it's a chest press or an overhead press, I'll tend to kind of destroy my triceps. They kind of fail first due to that short lever arm. Even if I do perfect technique, and do all the things you should do, they're still going to be the dominant movers for me. So for chest press, in order to better grow my chest, I do a lot of chest flies before I do chest presses, and that has really helped me grow my chest over the years. And I'll use that same trick for overhead presses as well. I very rarely would do overhead press without pre-exhaust, because then it becomes a stability exercise and a tricep exercise more than a shoulder exercise. So I'll do variations of raises and different degrees of pre-exhaust depending on how much I want to emphasize that shoulder destruction, that shoulder fatigue before I get into presses. If I have a day where it's towards the end of the week, I'm tired, I might want to limit how much weight I have to use to get maximal effort in my overhead presses. So I'll do more aggressive pre-exhaust. On a day where I'm feeling excited and fresh and I want to see if I can hit maybe a PR, I'll do a very light pre-exhaust, more so like blood flow work, and then I'll get into the heavy presses. So those are two tips already, is change your angle a little bit, vary the amount of pre-exhaust you do, and then a couple things I think of when I'm doing presses is, number one, I want to think of my shoulders being pulled back and down. So I'll show you here in a second with some dumbbells. I'll do one of my working sets. But when I'm in position, I want to think of my shoulders being pulled back and then taking my shoulder joints and kind of like rolling them back. So then when I'm pressed into the bench, my shoulder joint is the most stabilized it can be. What I wouldn't want is where I have none of that happening and my shoulders are just kind of how I would sit if I was sitting relaxed. This is very unstable for my shoulders. You can run into injury issues and you're just not going to maximize your performance because the joint is unstable. It would be like trying to, squat while standing on a Bosu ball. You see people do it, but it's not the best idea. So we want to take our shoulders, squeeze them back, pull them down, and then I would press from that position. Then the second tip is the pressing angle. I want to think of pressing the dumbbells starting in a wide position, and then as I would press up, I want to press up and let them come in a little bit, but I want to keep my hands outside of my shoulders so the weight always feels like it's falling away. That is going to maximize my shoulder contraction in the movement. If I'm pressing narrow and straight up and down, that's going to be a lot of triceps and it's going to be predominantly just the front of my shoulder. If I do it with a wider hand angle where my forearms are more vertical and I'm pressing up and in like this, I'm going to get more of my middle and rear delt, and delt is short for deltoids, which is your shoulder muscles. I'm going to get more of my middle and rear shoulder muscles involved. So that way I get a nice blended effort and a more full development of my shoulders. So now that I gave you the tips, let's go ahead and do a working set. So I'll grab a weight. And right now I'm actually doing high reps in this workout. So I'm aiming for roughly 14 to 20 reps, and we'll see how this goes. I'll probably do a little better because I took a long time talking, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'll get the dumbbells in position. I'll have my shoulder blades pulled back and down and press in a nice wide angle. Okay, woo, that worked well. Okay, so I think I did pretty good there. I think I got 20. Might have miscounted, but it was around 20. I decided to stop the set there, not only because I reached the end of the rep range, but my right shoulder specifically was starting to get kind of wobbly and getting fatigued. And I knew if I were to do 1 or 2 more reps, the quality would have been less than my best. Typically, when my shoulder gets a little uneven, I broke this collarbone 3 times and I have metal plates in there. So it's a little bit wobbly at times. But if I push it too hard, I get really only recruitment in the front of my shoulder. It kind of like takes over. So I don't want to do that. So once the technique quality is done, then the set is done. Then 2 other tips you might have seen is my feet were nice and stable and pressed into the floor. That's definitely something we want to focus on. So we have a nice strong base. Just like we're pulling our shoulder blades back and rotating them down to get a strong base in our shoulders, we also want to push our feet through the floor to get a nice strong stable base for our body. The second thing was, how low do you go when you're bringing the dumbbells down? For me, I'll bring them down to where my hand is about level with my nose and mouth area. If I try to go any lower than that, I would almost have to dip the dumbbell out or try to arch my body down. I would change my position. So I'm coming down to where my upper arm bone kind of touches into my lat and my forearm touches into my bicep. That happens for me when the dumbbell is around my mouth and my nose, and it's a good stretch in my shoulder, but it doesn't start to overstretch anything to where I get uncomfortable or any pain either after the set or the next day. So there's a lot of information, but hopefully that was helpful. These are the things I think through when I'm doing dumbbell overhead presses. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.